I put them in a line so that when people who run for office, they're speaking where.
There's individual power. Come on. I think it's going to go on commercial. Yeah. I think so. I hope so. Yeah, both open.
Yeah, we go.
Minimize one switch to the other. Yeah.
We looked at it, I talked with Celeste and Jim, we don't see a problem with doing it, we were, council meeting, but we just need to use the certificates to them, or how, I mean, I don't know if you'd like to do it, the next one, right? Okay, let me talk to them again, so I get a control. I think that it was the next time, see what I'm saying? I never. Yeah.
Well, I can't pull yours up for some reason, so.
Okay, guess I'll move it then. Well, it's just for the street discussion.
Yeah, I can do the financial side.
We were going to talk about specifically Bel Air for a minute, but well, Dane's can plug into his. Mine's not a PowerPoint, mine's just maps.
One of the things that you want to talk about though is.
If you can go to Google Earth and just do, or Google Maps. No, Bel Air. There you go. Yep, that's fine.
Is that an agenda?
No.
I already got mine.
Oh, I missed. Right after the one. That's all. Solid right.
We're not giving up.
Well, we're engineering on one.
That's what we get to do.
A lot easier than.
Meeting a couple of people. Because time matters when you have to. And these little medical places, they can't do anything for you. No, you want the full. He's gonna do it aside when we get you guys back. Yeah. I am from the city council one. Yeah, but sometimes you can still find efficiencies or help everybody get sooner rather than later. And it's the little things that can be just a boost. Because we work so hard. Yeah. Right. And the little things that we can do. You're doing things. Right. Right. Congratulations on stepping in. Oh, yeah. It's not an easy time to be in like this, but we need good people. So which part of the city is your district? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, right. So it was a good experience. It's significant, right? And some wonderful people, right? People who would otherwise. So I asked him. Depends on how long we talk. Right, yeah. But it was very interesting to meet people and he could be one of the people. Well, sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, you need to do that. Yeah. I'm excited for you. Here's my. There's things where folks have my contact. That's my email and cell phone. So you're also welcome to reach out.
Here we go.
I'm going to call to order the council workshop tonight, which is early on November 20th, 2025 at 5 p.m. And I'm going to, the only thing on the workshop is the review of the street finances, and I am going to turn it over to Jim.
All right, so I decided we kind of needed to talk about this when we were going after engineering proposals for doing Bel Air, if I can get my streets correct. And one of the proposals had a cost estimate in it that was like $1 million higher than what Brian had on his, which it's probably too high, but that cost estimate kind of put into a concern of, do we have the funding in place or not to cover the street projects that we've talked about doing? I kind of wanted to do a review of where we're at on street projects that have been underway or being planned here in the fairly near future. These were, I think, projects that when you were doing originally a $5 million bond issue, thought what the CIP would look at for streets over the next couple of years. Is that kind of correct, Brian?
Yeah, the first bond in 23 was 5 million. And then the plan at that time was to bond at 5 million every 3 years. As you know, the last round of bonding, we only did 3.5 million for streets. So that's kind of where we're at now on checking finances to see where we're at.
Yeah, so just to take a look and just review where we are at. We came into this fiscal year, if you, on the sheet, the paper that I gave you, the spreadsheet, one sheet that's up on the screen, too small to read. We started with, come on, can you move? No, it won't. We started this year with $4.5 million on hand. And that was carryover from the 3.5 that we put in for the bond issue, plus we had carryover from previous bonds. And we were still underway with some projects. We still, mainly 18th Street was not a completed project at that point. During the course of this year, I have 4 columns on that sheet, what we are year to date for revenues and expenditures, what we're look to be at least close to revenues and expenditures for the full year through next June 30. Budget for fiscal 27 and 28 for the projects that we are either underway or that Brian is looking at fairly soon, getting engineering agreements in place to be able to get constructed. We have, if you look at money that's come in this year, we brought in $960,000 in grants. That was a HUD grant for reimbursement on. We have spent down below this year about the same amount, 960-some thousand, and it's spread across a few different projects. One of the things that makes it hard within our accounting system, both the engineering and the construction costs go into one line item. So I tried to break out on that sheet for you what is spent for engineering fees on each separate project and actual construction costs on each project. As you look there, during the current year, on engineering, we've incurred costs on Grand Avenue, 18th Street, and Timea, about $100,000 already in the design phase on that. And then construction-wise, so far this year, we've spent money on Grand Avenue and the tail end of 18th Street. So look at what's left yet to happen this year. Like the 18th Street, for example, still has retainage to get paid out, so it's going to be somewhere in the $300,000 of actual construction costs that are in this year.
Yeah, we have 173,000 in retainage to pay out.
Yeah,
still.
so and just a few and a little bit more of actual cost plus the retainage. So we should be maybe just shy of that, 300,000. I have 310. Grand Avenue still has. Grand Avenue still has retainage on it.
It will, and it probably will till spring.
So that's, we'll still have to get paid out this year. So what we spent 650 so far this year, about 830 total on that project. And I've kind of tried to look at what as well, the engineering costs are on each of those. The reason that I kind of really wanted to talk about this, two main projects that we're working on right now, one that we've been in design phase, and we'll look at doing the state revolving fund loan for the sewer portion of Timea. When, I think, Brian, when you originally were budgeting that, was about a $4 million project that you were looking at based off of what you'd had on 18th Street?
Yes, it was around 3.7 before we started looking at the sewer separation.
So then we started looking at sewer separation, and they gave us a cost of like 4.9 or somewhere in that $5 million range.
Mhm.
And then 2 months go by, and that 5 million became 6.9 million. So,
With a 20, they added a 20%.
so there's a 20% contingency on that, but if these costs come in where the engineers have the projects plus the contingency, I kind of wanted to talk through once you pay for all the construction plus your engineering fees on the design phase, you still have some engineering fees on the construction phase, even though we do a lot of that in-house. Looking at how these projects would break out between years, like on your sheet, the construction for Timea Street, for example, I show the cost for the actual construction phase getting split. We won't start that project until the actual 2027 calendar year. So we'll get some of the costs in fiscal year 2027. The majority of costs will be in 2028, and actually it may bleed over into 2029. So that's where I have it split: 3 million in 27 and 3.9 million in 28. I'm just kind of trying to show how projects will get maybe somewhat split between years. Did the same with Bel Air. We're looking at Bel Air as a project. If we get the engineering agreement done tonight, your goal is to see the design work get done over the winter and have a spring bid on that and have
Yes.
is that about right?
Yep,
So the construction on that will begin
late spring.
late spring, and so some of it will be in the current budget year. I know am showing more on if it were a $2.2 million budget, the way they outlined in their just presentation that they did. They've done no actual design work. If it came in like that, I know we wouldn't get $1 million spent this year, but still just trying to show it's going to go across at least 2 fiscal years. Engineering, the same, will get split across 2 fiscal years. I show that for Bel Air, 200,000 in the current year and 50,000 next year. Does that kind of make sense what I'm talking about, how I'm trying to look at projects? Projects that have been talked about, and Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You've talked about over the next few years trying to get the next one that you would want to get to is Timea Street. We got pushed back a year, so we moved up Bel Air because it would be the one that was going to be after Timea.
Well, basically, Bel Air got moved up because of the water main break last summer that undermined a big portion of that road, and so it deteriorated really fast. But it was a good fill-in project because it won't span 2 calendar years. It's short enough, kind of like Grand Avenue, where we can bid that in the spring and have it completed hopefully before school starts, but definitely in the fall of 26.
And you're looking to do 10th Street kind of pretty much the same time frame.
And 10th Street will be a mill and fill project and not a complete reconstruct.
So it's got a cost estimate more in the 400,000 range, split across 2 years, give or take. And engineering associated with that, maybe 50,000, that's like 12%.
Yeah, we just received proposals back for that, and they're still being scored, so that'll probably come to council in the
On the
next couple-
engineering side.
The engineering side, yes.
Ditch or Main Street,
Yes, yep.
So when we look at, we have Bel Air, Timea, 10th Street that are all looking to go out over the next 2 years. We're still finishing up on Grand and 18th Street. With the costs that we have projected for both the engineering and construction, I mentioned the revenue that we still had coming, or that we came in this year, the grant for the 18th Street. Next year with Timea Street, we should get we're in line to get a $500,000 CDBG grant. And then SRF financing that we're doing the application for tonight. I think the application's actually 4.7 that's listed on there. I'm showing 4.2 because whatever we get for CDBG funding will
Come off of
reduce
that.
the sewer side. So
And that's with the 30%.
that's
forgivable?
with 30% contingency. So there's a good sized contingency on that.
I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry.
forgivable on the
20%.
loan.
As you're talking, we're looking at hopefully getting bill funding. It's a funding source through the state that we would be eligible to get 30% reimbursement off of our SRF costs. Problem that we have with that is that's on the back end. We don't have any guarantees on it. They don't tell you, there's not an application process to go through. They just select communities to receive it. Now, in terms of what they rate for communities, they look at the relative need of a community, and then they score that town. They do a rating from 1 to 20, with 20 having the worst rating or most relative need for the community. Keokuk is a 19 out of 20. So there aren't very many communities that score higher than us on that. For perspective, the water department just bonded for 3.9 million, or they were doing an SRF loan for about 3.9 million
Yeah,
to
for
do the
their
water
towers.
towers.
Mhm.
And they received the 1.3 million of bill funding. We're hopeful of getting that same type of figure, but there's no guarantee. And if we do, what it will do is reduce the amount of the SRF loan, the revolving loan that will be paid for out of the sewer revenues. Back on this capital project, I've taken those items into account. We've also looked at transferring some funds in. If you look on the revenue, there's a transfer in line item. This year, we're still looking to transfer in about 300,000 from sewer. And the reason we would do that, the Bel Air project has some sewer or storm sewer related costs associated with it, about 300,000. So have it cover its relative share of project costs. I've just tried to figure out how in the world can we fund the projects that are on this list we can't do it with the bond funds we have in hand. But we do have the ability to use, if we want to prioritize over the next couple of years, local option sales tax has a capital or infrastructure portion to it. Out of what we've been budgeting on an annual basis, the infrastructure portion is about 600,000 annually. To me, it would make sense. This is the most relevant infrastructure type project or area of projects that we have. The state has some fairly basic categories for what you can use, or what they classify as infrastructure. Streets, certainly one of them. Water, sewer, utility infrastructure qualifies. You have major repairs or renovations to a building, that actually technically qualifies. And I don't know what the dollar cutoff is. It might be where you go out to bid at. It might be where they make the difference between minor and major, somewhere in the 80,000 range or something like that. I'm not sure, but those are the general categories that you can use this funding for. So if we looked and said that we are committed to using that infrastructure dollars over the next 2 cycles, in the 27 budget and the 28 budget, 600,000 a year. And in the middle of your sheet is where the ending balance is by year. That would still have us about 400,000 short to do all these projects if the cost comes in where the preliminary estimates are. Brian, what do you think the likelihood is of them being as high as what are in the
Very
preliminary?
low. So the preliminary estimate that came with the qualifications proposal from Bolton to Mink, that estimate was
On
based
Bel Air.
on Bel Air. That estimate was based on statewide prices. What we've been looking at with just 18th Street, Johnson Street we just did, Grand Avenue, our concrete pricing is around $20 a square yard less than that, which is a significant amount of money less, which is where Jim came in, where my estimate was around
1 million,
1.2.
1.2.
And then the preliminary engineers came in around 2 million, or a little above. That was that major difference. And that estimate was based on, like I said, them using the state prices and without any design or anything like that looked into the project yet. So typically on a project, as you get further along in design, we do like a 30% process, a 60% process, 90, and then final. Those estimates get tightened up as you get further along in the design because they actually know what materials are going to be removed and replaced, how the actual linear foot of, say, sanitary sewer, how many manholes we have to replace, and that kind of thing. That gets narrowed down. So I honestly, we won't get prices that high. Just in Southeast Iowa, that doesn't happen. I mean, when you look at statewide prices, you're looking at Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, the metro area of Des Moines, which right now are really high prices. The Waterloo area, Iowa City area, and we don't come close to those with the contractors we have in this area. Nor do we pull those contractors down to this area because of that reason.
So the costs are probably not going to come in quite this high, but we do need to be able to talk about if they're anywhere close. I mean, 400,000 is what we're showing for a deficit here. If I think that will probably fall less than that, but you have a couple of, if the council's going to move forward with all of these projects, it will require committing the local option sales tax money, that infrastructure portion to it in the next couple of budget cycles. Otherwise, it's too big a gap.
Jim, where does the city currently put those local option sales tax dollars? Because that's not going to be any additional money. We're just going to be moving from one area to another.
Yeah, so we've been putting it in the general fund and using it for general operations, which is not legal.
So they're misallocated right now.
Yeah.
So
We haven't been allocating it correctly. So, in the current year, I can justify what we've put in there for doing the local match on the trail and what we have for the airport, but we just don't have those projects in the general fund in the next couple of years. So yeah, there is a reason why that money is available. It's just mainly because we have not been making sure that we line item and justify against what it's actually supposed to be used for.
And I'd say on a Bel Air project, if we do get a bid that comes in that's higher than we like, we do have the opportunity, because right now that project's looking at going from Orleans down Bel Air, turning the corner and going all the way to 17th. We can back that project off, starting at the bottom at 17th, coming back and actually only fix that section of Bel Air that the water main really affected. Now, all of it needs done because it's all in really bad shape, but that would be the cost saving measures we would build in. Because once you get a unit price, you can back that unit price off for the quantity and lessen the cost of the project.
Brian, of course, wants to do all these streets. I would like to do all of it too. But I feel like we have a plan that can cover the majority of this, even at these costs. If the cost came in where they have these estimates at, I think that what Brian is mentioning, that cutting off the lower end of that project, the last block of it, would put us in the price range where we about net out
Yeah.
over the course of these next couple of fiscal years. I feel comfortable with that, but we got to know if you all feel comfortable with that. And before we really are proceeding with, I feel like before we proceed and make sure that we're moving forward with Bolton and Menk on a project that we really want to make sure that we're doing.
So just to clarify here, if all the projects came in at approximately the engineer's estimate cost, which we feel confident are high, that puts us at roughly $500,000 that we would need to find somewhere.
That, or you eliminate the tail end of that
portion, yeah,
project.
you change the projects. But assuming that they don't come in at these high estimates, there's a probability that we would not then have to find that additional funds to
Yep.
complete the 3 projects.
Correct, but I do want you to understand that we're on the cusp on it. Because this will really kind of commit what you're doing for street projects over the next couple of years, and just let you know that there isn't a lot of wiggle room.
I think all 3 of these projects are real important ones. I mean, we've been talking Timea Street for a couple of years now, and that's a huge run of Timea Street as well. It's not just a couple blocks that we've been talking about. And it's kind of taken 2 birds with 1 stone with getting the sewer separation done at the same time. South 10th there going up the hill is one of the worst spots in all of town. So obviously I want to see that one stay on the list as well. That's the smallest dollar amount one with the mill and fill. And so, that's the easiest one that we could figure out how to adapt to make work in a worst case scenario. And then Bel Air obviously is important because we have other infrastructure problems happening there with water main breaks and the like. So all 3 do have valid reasons why we should proceed forward and tackle those projects.
Just on a note with Bel Air and Tymia, the water department has committed to replacing those mains when we do those road projects.
Okay, when we did budget last spring, it was brought out that we have 38 million in bonded debt to be paid off in the next 20 years. If I did my calculations, are you saying then if you transferred in the 300,000 and the 600,000 by the end of 28, then we would only be suffering 426,000 in expense, that all of that 4.2 is being taken care of then, with the exception of that 426,000?
Now, the 4.2 million that you're seeing in that column, that's an SRF loan that is a sewer loan that we would be borrowing and having to pay for back out of sewer revenue.
With the exception of 30% if we got the
That we're hoping that
SRF.
we get.
It'd be-
There's no guarantee.
Right. So I like to play devil's advocate. If it doesn't come through, we're not going to know until the project is done, right?
Correct. And as we work with, going into this next budget season, one of the things I'm doing is working with Piper Sandler, who's done our bond issues in the past.
I saw Tim
Makes-
Oswald's
We
name.
want to make sure that we're incorporating the higher amount for repayments, making sure that we're putting ourselves in a position where the revenues between what we're using out of tax increment financing that we're paying sewer or existing debt, using sewer revenues to pay existing debt as well as this next SRF loan, and using a debt service levy that is at an appropriate amount. When I say appropriate amount, we'll get into that a little bit as we get closer to budget season, but we've been levying $7.50 per thousand evaluation to cover debt service over the last couple of years. Average community of our size is levying about $2.40. We're 3 times.
Right.
what I'm trying to get this down to is about a $3. So we're at least within the range of what other communities are doing, even if we're on the higher side, that we're at least in the range of what other like communities are using property taxes for debt service. And when we're looking at these different projects, I want to make sure that we're making sure that we're not spending an amount that will put us over those levies. And if we are, I want us to talk about it as a group and make sure that we're on board with what we're doing and understand it. This will not impact that, what we're doing here. It's what we would have to do in doing a couple of your other projects,
If
The
we
one-
look at bonding again in 2028, or FY '28,
which would be the Palian project, which I can't obviously spell Palin, as well as 4th Street are the next two streets that you'd had outlined. Those will be a new bond issue. Well, I don't know if we can accommodate them yet. That's a concern I have as we move forward, is whether we can
Right.
actually afford to do those.
And when we just voted recently to do the sewer rate increases, it was sold to the public that we were doing it so that we would not be having to increase, or that we would be reducing their property taxes. If we're going to be using that money to pay off debt, that doesn't apply then.
Yeah, it does. Debt is paid for with a debt service levy. That's property taxes. We levy out of our property tax levy of $26.25. $7.50 of it is the debt service levy. The sewer rate increase that we did was designed to try to put us in a spot where we can reduce that debt service levy from $7.50 to $3. Our property tax levy should be able to come down about $4.50 as a result of that.
I guess I'm going to have to go through it slower, because it seems like we're applying those sewer increases in two different pots, in my clouded opinion.
So the sewer will pay for the debt instead of having the debt service levy pay for it. That was why we increased the sewer rates.
Okay,
And when it comes to city finances, we'll still confuse it, because we have to pay for that debt in the debt service fund. We'll be doing a transfer from sewer to the debt service fund instead of using property taxes to make those payments. But it is designed to lower property taxes.
if you say so. I just can't see it.
We're at the end of our time too.
Yeah, we only have 2 minutes, so does anybody have a real quick comment or question, real quick? Okay, so everybody take a big deep breath and we'll get ready to.
Just everyone, if there any other questions that you have prior to wanting to have an answer on whether you want to do the engineering services agreement with Bolton and Menk, that'll be an action item tonight. We're recommending that you move forward with it, but you need to understand how we're trying to cover the costs on it along with the other projects.
Okay.
My-
Yes. Switch, it hasn't switched yet.
Hey, Brian, I think when we get to their engineering services agreement, I think we'll still pull up that map. We didn't get to it and just go down the street of Bel Air, because I do want you to cover what's going on where that parking is.
Are we ready, guys? I'd like to call to order the city council meeting, November 20th, 2025 at 5:30 PM. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call?
Crenshaw. Walker.
Here?
Mullen. Cackley.
Here.
Dade.
Here.
Andrews.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Bryant.
Here.
Greenwald.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Item number 4, mayor's correspondence. Friday, November 21st, there's Adventures Guild at the Keokuk Public Library at 2 p.m. and music by Rhythm and Weep at 9:00 p.m. at the Cellar. On Saturday, November 22nd, we have a local artist, Bobby Jared Knox, will be holding a meet and greet at the Keokuk Riverfront by the Old Bridge Department. Knox will be displaying his art project called My Sister's a Frog. Knox is a Keokuk native, and his family has deep roots in the city of Keokuk. So come and see this young artist's great work. Again, that's 1 to 3 Saturday afternoon down at the riverfront. The Top Hatter Dance Studio will be having its Christmas recital at the Grand Theater at 2 p.m. And the Keokuk Art Center will have its annual Festival of Trees and Gifts fundraiser at 6:30 p.m. at the Keokuk Depot with a live and silent auction starting at 8 p.m. Last council meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, Public Works Director Brian Carroll and I and the representatives from Shoemaker and Holland we're proud to accept an award for the streets and intersections from the Iowa Ready Mix Concrete Association. This was for South 18th. We went to Ames and accepted the award. In front of you guys, there's a picture of there's a paper that shows what was in the booklet, and that was quite an honor for us. It was throughout the state of Iowa. And also with that is another picture. We also made the American Legion National Magazine for the Road of Honor, an article in there. So that is really great to have positives for Keokuk, smiles for Keokuk. And I thank everybody that had anything to do with that. Congratulations to Adeline Wooster, who is a senior at Keokuk High School, for her 2 state swimming titles. What an accomplishment for this young girl. She is a great athlete and she is a great young lady. Thanks to her for bringing 2 more positives to Keokuk. Then Saturday, November 29th is Small Business Saturday in Keokuk. Please shop locally before venturing out to all the other places. Keokuk has a lot to offer, and if you just take the time to look. And as always, eat, drink, and shop local. Kindness measures. Item number 5 is citizens' request. If you have something that you need to speak to us about or a question you need to ask, you can come to the podium, state your name and your address. You have anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes, and if there's anybody out there, someone can come first.
I'm going to make this brief but brilliant. I want to thank all of you on the Road of Honor project. Thank you. We now have guests here tonight. They wanted me to introduce them to you. We're starting a new venture in Keokuk. 2x4 for Hope is from Fort Madison. They have completed and built 3 successful housing for veterans in Fort Madison. We are now venturing into Keokuk on this venture to build veterans' homes in Keokuk. So with that, I would like to introduce 2 representatives from Fort Madison, and they will explain to you more about the 2x4 and Hope. I'm sorry, I put my name and address.
That's okay.
Okay.
We're past.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council for letting us come forward. My name is Lester Kistner. I'm one of the co-directors for Iowa 2x4s for Hope. We are a nonprofit 501c3 that we build tiny homes for our veterans right here in Lee County. And we're currently working with a couple groups to bring this project to Keokuk. We started in Fort Madison. We've already built 3 homes up there and placed 3 veterans in those, and they're doing well. And we're excited to come and bring this to Keokuk as well, because there's a big veteran presence here. And these homes that we build, the only cost that the veteran has to pay when we put them in the house is their utilities, phone or cable when they want it, and insurance. There's no mortgage, no rent. These homes are fully furnished, has all appliances, all furniture, pots, pans, dishes, you name it, all the way down to food in the cupboard even. So we're here to pick our veterans up that have not been appreciated for far too long and give them a fresh start. So I just wanted to bring this to the city council so you're aware of what we're doing, because there will be some things we'll have to deal with, like the size of the dwelling, make sure it meets, and the setbacks.
Thank you very, very much, and thank you for your hard work.
For your time.
Anyone else?
Myself and a few other folks are here to talk about my street vacation request. Is that something we're going to talk about later, or is now the time? So later, okay. Just
We
making
do,
sure.
we have it on the agenda, don't we? Yes. Okay, anybody else?
Dennis Patterson, I live at 608 South 18th. I have a few items here I'd like to talk about. The first one is, are they done landscaping and seeding South 18th Street?
No, they'll be back out as soon as their landscapers can get back to town.
Okay, because right now I've got nothing but crabgrass and foxtail from that. The second thing is, still want to talk about my steps. I know they said this as wide as my sidewalk was, that's what the steps were. Well, that doesn't work. And now since they put a new handrail in, my steps are even narrower. You can't even hardly get one person up step, let alone 2. So I'd like to have them widened out to normal, like 4-foot set of steps. And a sidebar on that, they put the handrails up and they're black. So here with no shade in Iowa, temperature's getting up pretty high. They're going to be toasty. The driveway is quite steep. I invite anybody on the city council to come and park their car on there and try to get out. On dry pavement, it's tough enough, but on slippery pavement, it's going to be terrible. I've already had one person fall and break their wrist on my driveway. Possible legal action. I'd like to invite all the members to come and park on my driveway and get out and test it out, and also look at my steps. And I'd like to know why they lowered the street that much. I've got several answers, and none of them make sense. But why did they lower the street 1.5 feet to 2 feet? Anybody?
I don't know that they lowered the street 1.5 feet or 2 feet.
Well, you can come out and look, and you can see that it's dropped that much. And so that's making it awful difficult for me to get in my driveway. Not so much now, but in the wintertime, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, I think that if you want, if that's a question, I know that the engineering, Shoemaker and Holland did the engineering, and they do it so that everything fits together. They can't keep a street higher if the sewer and everything needs to meet the rest of the sewer that's not there. So, I mean, that's already there. I would think that either the engineering or Jones would be the ones that would tell you how far it was lowered and why they did that.
Well, according to the SUDA standards, the optimum is the 5% grade, and that's safety, able to get up and down it okay without having a problem. And mine is right at 7%, so it's quite a bit steeper than what they recommend.
And are you talking about your driveway or in front of your house?
I'm talking about the driveway.
Okay, so I'm talking about in front of your house. You're talking about the road being
Well, the
dropped.
drive, yeah,
That's why-
the road has been lowered that much, so that made my driveway that much steeper.
Okay.
And now it's a problem.
All right, well, you have invited the council people to take a look, and I've been and looked. We did have a discussion about your steps, and the reason your steps were done the way they were was because your sidewalk was 3 feet wide, and your steps were brought to meet that. I know that our city engineer tech, John Ryder, had several conversations with you and everybody on the street before it got started. So I think we're going to have to, because you're here tonight, we're going to have another conversation. If anybody on the council wants to go and take a look, they're more than welcome, and we'll see what can happen after that. But I do know that the reason your steps are, the reason that you have steps that are 3 feet wide is because that's how wide your sidewalk was.
Well, sidewalks and steps are two different things. The sidewalk was
And I
not,
understand that.
not quite 3 feet wide, or, what is less than 3 feet. And now the steps are in, and with the guardrail on there, handrail on there, it's even worse. It's at least 4 foot narrower, or 4 inches narrower.
And I understand that. And so I think that this is a conversation that if anybody any of the other council people would like to take a look, I think it's a conversation that we'll have to have it after they do.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Item number 6, consent agenda. Minutes of the regular council meeting and council workshop of November 6, 2025. Cash receipts and treasurer's report for October 2025. Appointment of Joe McCunis to the Keokuk Rand Park Pavilion Commission to fulfill the term to expire October 22nd, 2026. Appointment of Gib Mann to the Keokuk Rand Park Pavilion Commission, term to expire October 22nd, 2028. Appointment of Brian Job to the Keokuk Rand Park Pavilion Commission, term to expire October 22nd, 2030. Motion to pay bills and transfers listed in the registers number 5507 to 5509. Do I have a motion to approve?
We'll move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on a request to vacate and dispose of platted, unapproved streets and alleys in Hawkeye Addition, City of Keokuk, Lee County, Iowa. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on November 12, 2025. I am opening the public hearing at 5:42.
Mayor.
Yes.
Planning Commission recommended or reviewed this on November 17th. There was discussion regarding a couple properties that need access to their properties. One of them was Mr. Merritt's, and he's got property to the south. And then Brackenberries have some property. They actually come off of Johnson Street Road to come to their property, but there's a railroad track that runs through there, and about 3 acres is on the opposite side of the railroad tracks. So after we reviewed all that, their recommendation was to vacate all the streets and alleys requested, except for 25th Street, which would give access to Brackenberries if they needed access to that property. Hickory Street was not in the request, and 20th Street was not in the request.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Is there any more discussion?
My name's Mike Marison. I own property there along the 20th Street part. I don't know why they took out Hickory and 20th Street, but I have no access to my 7 acres there. And been working with the city for 30 years, 40 years, trying to get it through the landfill. And supposedly there's a resolution to do it back in 10, and they never acted on it. Why, I don't know. So they got the letter and stuff, so. You look at that, but until they do that, Hickory and 20th is the only way I can get in.
Okay, my-
20th and Hickory is not going to be vacated. That's not even,
It's not on there?
that was not in the request.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Yep.
Good evening. My name's John Morris. I have several properties in town, but I live out on Hilton Road. I'm the one that made this request. As I understand, the commission's made their recommendation to you all. I just wanted to give a little backstory on the situation for the people that I haven't met with on the council to think about. So originally, the plan was to request everything out there in Hawkeye's Edition that is undeveloped and unimproved. After looking at what that was going to take, who all had to be involved, I decided to pull Hickory and 20th from that request. And that's something we may visit in the future. 25th Street, per the commission, is being recommended to you by the commission that you leave that out as well. And I'm not opposing that at this time. There is going to be requests for easements by 2 adjoining property owners. They're both in the building tonight. And I don't know how or when we can talk about that, because I know both are here to talk about it. But again, there's certain council members maybe that haven't talked to any of us yet. So this is an opportunity for you guys to hear a little bit about what we're discussing. My intention with vacating these streets is to totally gain control of land that I believe I have control of currently, and the city believes they have control of. And we have not been able to show evidence one way or the other. I plan to build a house on what is currently 23rd Street. And so that's why I removed Hickory, 20th, and 25th, because I wanted this to get done sooner than later. I would be happy to answer any questions. I also have some very helpful information. I didn't have enough copies here for everybody up there, but I'm happy to give these to you guys. It's just some stuff to think about as you're going about this process. But the 2 things at hand here are that I think the council has to decide is, are you going to vacate, and how much are you going to charge me for it? Secondary to that, in future council meetings, it's going to be whether or not you give the Brackenburys and the Meritses easements across my property, or in the case of the Meritses, through the old dump property. I don't know that that's something we can discuss tonight because it hasn't been requested on your agenda yet, but the 20th and 25th and Hickory being left out on paper would leave them access, but 20th and 25th are both impassable terrain. So just to speak on their behalf, I'm letting you know that that's not going to be good enough in the end for them, understandably. The Clays who live at the end of Cleveland Avenue, Larry is here as well. So you really have everyone surrounding and involved here tonight. It would be a good time for you guys to ask questions if you have them. Without saying anything else, does anybody have anything they want to ask me while I'm up here?
I would like to add that I have went to the courthouse to research records. I have the city attorney and Keokuk Abstract looking at information on the platting. It was done in 1907, so we're not really coming up with a lot. But as far as that will, depending on if that was in the city limits when actually it was platted, and I don't think it was, but I do not know that. The streets could very well just go to the property owner without the sale, but we still have to vacate them.
Pam?
And chat GPT is not a legal document, I'm sorry, it's not.
It's not, but neither is Beacon. So
Well, I'm not going by Beacon, John.
yeah.
I did some research yesterday with the help of two very nice ladies at the city library. And they have maps of the city and different levels of city limits. And we have narrowed it down that somewhere between 1972 and October of 1974 is when that may have been annexed.
Yeah, I've got that
Because-
information.
Okay.
I've got that information. We're just still looking at, there's a court case on Floral Hills that I have sent over to Jim Dennis and our city attorney and Mr. Kuckelman to review. So I'm just waiting on responses to them. We're not vacating anything tonight. It's just a public hearing. So in 2 weeks from tonight, we should have that information on the resolution. It will, if they actually, we vacate them and they actually just go to the property owner that's abutting, that's how the resolution will be. So we're just still waiting for some information on that.
And I just want to add, I think all 4 citizens involved in this are reasonable human beings. And so if everyone can come to some sort of reasonable compromise, I think that that would be best for everyone involved, including the city. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll let these other 3 guys step up and say if they want to say anything, and we can go from there.
So just to be clear, right now, the main thing that you would like to see is 23rd so you can start building.
That's my number 1 priority at the moment, yeah. Long term, I feel like this, or near term, the city really should vacate all of these streets, which, to be clear to the council, vacating and disposing is 2 different things. But if we're able to find where these streets were accepted, then they're currently public use. And if the city vacates them, then they would no longer be public use. And they would still be the city's. You would then have to dispose of them for us to have to pay something and actually take full control and ownership. But it's a safety and security concern at the moment because we're working under the assumption they were accepted and anybody can go there anytime. And that's something that I've asked for someone to provide to me, that here's when it happened, here's the legal documentation. So yes, anybody and their cousin can go there. And so, yes, I'm prioritizing 23rd. However, the entire thing needs to be vacated, not necessarily disposed. I don't think that's something maybe not everyone would agree with, but at bare minimum for all of the neighbors that live there. I mean, the Elks Lodge has had a lot of break-in and theft. And as I stated to the council members that were out there, when I was on my tractor maintaining these city streets, I fell through a cistern in the ground. I think I broke a toe and did some damage to my equipment. And God forbid someone else go out there and do it. And then it's who's at fault, me or the city? You know, if it happened to happen on an unplatted, unimproved street, or unbuilt, unimproved street. So there's definitely a lot of caveats to this, and we can mud the waters and make it as confusing as possible, but the clearest thing I can say to that is 23rd is my priority. At the end of the day, I'd like to see them all vacated, and I'd like to have my neighbors have access to their properties without driving across the middle of mine. So thank you. Any other questions? Perfect. Thank you very much for hearing this.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've been out there since, 95?
I need you to tell your name and
Larry
address.
Clay, 1010 Cleveland Avenue.
Thank you.
I've been out there since 1995. I did vacate one of the streets there because I've been taking care of it since 1995. The city has done nothing with it. And the same way, the one that's Hickory is, I mow it, I take care of it. What's been done to it, it's been me that's doing it. And I just kind of feel like if all this stuff was so important, And I get, because I'm the same way with my property, the streets and the byways and everything cuts down. I mean, we have a daycare out there. Something goes wrong with that road. Those daycare people, they don't call the city. They're calling me, hey, your road needs to be fixed. But that's not my road. There's my ward right there. He knows what I'm talking about. But right, like he said, I've had stuff broken into, people out there, like say, a city property. What am I supposed to do? For when I first moved out there, they would pull right down in front of my house and drink and carry on, and my kids are there. It's city property. What can I do? And it's the same thing. And I understand these other people need right of way to their property, but if you have two right of ways and one causes confusion and one doesn't, you would just think that the one that doesn't would be the liable choice. I know everybody, like I said, everybody likes their property, but like I said, I've been out there since '95, and ain't nobody spoke up and said nothing.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Harry Brackenberry, 1135 Johnson Street Road. I do own the adjacent 3 acres, the connecting 3 acres to Mr. Morris's ground. My wife and I are just concerned about landlocking that 3 acres, whether or not we get access through 25th Street or somewhere else. I just wouldn't want to landlock that piece of property just in case we want to develop it someday. That is our only concern. I don't disagree with anything Jonathan has stated. I would want the same if I owned his property. But in turn, I don't want to landlock my 3 acres as well. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody up here? So I'm going to read this real quick so we know what we're going to the public hearing for. So John Morris owns approximately 19 acres in the Hawkeye Addition. He has requested to vacate all platted unimproved streets and alleys adjacent in blocks 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, except for 20th Street and Hickory Street in the Hawkeye Addition. At the time of this memo, the City Planning Commission has not reviewed the request. The Planning Commission will review and make recommendations at their meeting on November 17th, 2025. Staff recommends to hold the public hearing and take action on the request on December 4th, 2025 at the City Council meeting. With that being said, City Clerk, have you had any other written comments or objections?
No.
There being no further comments or objections to this matter, I will close the public hearing at 5:57. Item number 8A. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on the proposal to enter into a development agreement with State Central Bank. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on November 14th, 2020. I am opening the public hearing at 5:58. State Central Bank completed a conversion of retail space into a bank in August 2023 and applied for a tax increment financing rebate through the Downtown Urban Renewal Plan in January 2024. The City Council approved the request in March 2024. The downtown plan that the request was based on expired in 2021, resulting in the need to formalize the request through a new approval process after holding a public hearing. Enclosed in your packet is the original resolution passed by the City Council approving the rebate request from March 2024, along with the proceeding for holding a hearing now on approving the TIF rebate request under the current Twin Rivers Urban Renewal Area, most recently amended in September 2025. The terms of the rebate request, as detailed in the development agreement included in your packet, is for a 5-year 90% rebate of taxes on the increased valuation due to the completed project, with a note with not to exceed rebate amount of $60,000 total for the 5-year period. Current estimates of the first rebate payment to be made in the fiscal year 2027 is under $11,000 for the then current year. We recommend approval of the resolution confirming the public hearing and the development agreement in conformity with the previous City Council approval in 2024. Staff recommends approval. Do I have any discussion? With no further discussion, City Clerk, do I have any written comments or objections that have been received?
No.
Therefore, no further comments or objections on this matter. I will close the public hearing at 6 p.m. Item B, consider resolution ratifying, confirming, and approving publication of a notice of public hearing and approving and authorizing the execution of the development agreement by and between the City of Keokuk and State Central Bank. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I have a question about this. It's approving publication of notice of public hearing. Is that approving the publication for this current public hearing
Correct.
that we're in right now?
Correct. This is not a typical way to do this. When I was going to do the forms that are due at the end of the month to be certified with the county, we realized that this was an agreement that was never submitted to the county. Should have been done last year. So in trying to clean it up, we worked through bond attorneys to make sure, let's do this appropriately and get everything done the way it needs to be done. This is a recommended route. This is not a typical way to do the resolution authorized. We publicized and we met the publication requirements. You typically do that before the public hearing is publicized, but this is being done in retroactively. It's cleaning up an issue.
So it was publicized. We're just retroactively approving that publication.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the attorneys were satisfied. I mean, they drew up the authorizing language.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, consider resolution awarding engineering contract to Bolton and Mink for the Bel Air Street project. I need a motion to approve.
Second.
The City of Keokuk recently sent out requests for qualifications to engineers for the Bel Air Street reconstruction project. We received proposals back from V&K Engineering, Shoemaker and Holland Engineers, and Bolton Mink Engineers Incorporated. After staff review and scoring, we have selected Bolton and Mink Incorporated. I would therefore recommend that the city approve the engineering agreement with Bolton and Mink Incorporated for the design and reconstruction from Orleans Avenue to 7th Street project in the amount of $166,000. Do I have any discussion?
I'm going to turn it over to Brian to kind of walk through this project, and I'm going to have to escape out of that so we can kind of pull up the street. You want to walk through what's going on with the project, Brian?
Yeah. So as stated in the action form, we're looking to start at the intersection of Orleans where the screen's at now. And this will go all the way down. You can just keep scrolling. Really, the only thing we really have to discuss is kind
Down
of towards
past
the
the
bottom of the hill. We did have the sewer department go out and camera the sanitary sewer that's located in the middle of the street, and it does need replaced. Right now, we have that on a schedule of jetting it biannually, which is quite a bit for a sanitary sewer. It gets a lot of groundwater inflection into it. It was originally built 1955, 1960 era, and it was built out of those like 3-foot sections of clay pipe that they used back then. We have a lot of separation out of those pipes, and the manholes out there are that age and brick and missing a lot of grout. So we would want to replace the sanitary sewer along that stretch, just running down Bel Air and then tying into the manhole that is at the bottom of the hill. If you look at, I think that's on your guys' screens up there. So when you get towards the bottom of the Bel Air and along Park Lane, as you can kind of see what kind of looks like a sidewalk on the edge of the road, but is not really a sidewalk. Those are pieces that were built in front of houses. Some of them continue between different driveways, but currently being used for parking. And if you notice, they have not a full standing 6-inch curb on those. They have a driveway type curb, which is drive over. Right now, we are looking at not replacing that section along the edge of the road. And we just kind of wanted to bring that to your attention when we get further into the design and
In terms of a sidewalk, it's not constructed in a way that you could put it back the way it
right.
is.
It is definitely not safe to put a sidewalk right up against the back of a curb. And if you continue on down the street, they stop and there is no sidewalk heading from, if you can see where it ends there, all the way down to the park, they're gone. If you go back up the other way, they continue for a couple hundred feet and they also disappear. Some of them, and you can see by the color of the concrete in some of those, they're poured at different times. And they're about as wide as a vehicle if you look at where the residents are parking. So that will ultimately be a decision of the council whether we want to put a parking area back, which will add cost to the project, or if we want to pour the road back the width that it is now and make that a grass area.
Is that currently no parking on one side?
No. There is no parking restrictions on that.
Will there be a significant cost difference of putting it back or not putting it back?
Depending on how we would put it back. I mean, yes, it will add it. It will add, because technically if we put it back for a driveway, it's gonna have to be 6-7 inch concrete. May or may not have to be reinforced depending on what the engineer's design is, but it would add significant cost to it. And then you get to the point of, do you put it back brand new in front of the houses that have it now? And what do the other residents say when you don't add it for them? Or do you just widen the street that wide now so they have more on-street parking, which would add significant cost to the project? Like I said, we're kind of leaning in the way of not replacing that section and just putting the street back from curb to curb. There will be different segments along the design that will come to council for like a 30% and a 60%. We can decide to add, remove, that kind of thing during that time frame too.
So if we don't replace the concrete that you see the vehicles parked on, will we take that up and seed that? Or will
Yes, we would seed
We
it.
would seed that and then curb the street like you would every other street. So for them to park there, they'd have to actually drive up on the curb and then drive up on grass.
Or they would have to use their driveways.
Or use their own. I'm saying if they were to continue to park where they're at right
I mean,
now.
they can still park on street. We don't have a no
Right.
parking there on the street.
Okay, but
And the times that we have been out there and walked the project, drove the project, I hardly see anybody parked on as I'm looking at this, on the right side of the street. It's generally all on the left side heading away from the park.
But right now, it's not, they can't legally park on the actual street, is that
Yeah,
correct?
they can.
They can legally
Yeah.
park still on the street, it's wide enough for that.
I mean,
Okay.
we don't have a no parking regulation on that street.
Okay,
It would be like a lot of the streets in town, if you get down into like the residential neighborhoods, if you park on the street, you will have to take turns with traffic wise, but majority of our neighborhoods are like that now. It's just something we thought we'd bring up ahead of time as opposed to throwing it out there.
If we do it the way that you have it designed, the people that live right there and are using that parking, when they realize this is happening, are not going to be happy. I mean, there's just.
Right.
Yeah, no,
There is
it
no
was nice
sidewalk.
that you brought it to our attention.
No, we shouldn't. I don't think we should add sidewalk.
well, and do we know who put sidewalk or whatever they're calling that? Because the city wouldn't have done that, would they?
I wouldn't think so. Like I
I
said,
mean,
if you go out there and look.
Looking at
the
it, it looks more like a
discoloration-
homeowner design.
Right, and different, in front of different houses, you have different color of concrete, which means
Right.
different age of concrete.
Well, and I would think and the reason I don't think the city did it by looking at it is because it doesn't follow any side of code. Like you said, you can't put a sidewalk right next to a street without some kind of,
Not very safe.
yeah, you've got to have some sort of barrier for protection of some sort, especially, I mean, when there's not even a curb there.
The other thing that goes along with this is the one street that wasn't part of, when you were doing the Bel Air originally, this wasn't necessarily part of the project.
I did figure paving all the way to
On
the
Park
park.
Lane.
When we walked it, after we walked it heading the other direction, we're gonna go a little farther than what was anticipated just because of we have to find a good concrete panels to tie the new back into. And that's gonna take some more footage to do heading the other way.
Going this way.
Yes.
Not
So
quite
we
that
want to
far.
get away from the cracked panels, and we have to go up quite a few of them to get to a solid panel.
Brian, just a question, just to reaffirm here. Has anything changed parking wise on Park Lane? Because on the Google that we're looking at, you can see the no parking signs in the
Oh, maybe
pictures
I
that are
might
up on
be
our
wrong
screen
then.
right
I
now.
didn't realize there was a no parking on there. I'd have to look at the ordinance. Which side is that on?
Oh, on that side.
Maybe that's why they don't park on the other side.
It's one side.
Just went past.
If we already have an ordinance, then that makes it even easier traffic wise anyways. Is that a no parking sign? I can't see that far.
On that direction.
I guess that makes
Parking all
sense
the
of
way
why
down
there's no
this way.
cars ever parked on that side when we go out there. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that was in the ordinance.
When we were discussing this during the workshop, did I detect that there might be unavailable funds to do the whole thing? So wouldn't this be the prudent time to decide before we engage in engineering fees to decide whether or not we're going to do just Bel Air or the whole all-inclusive to 17th Street?
I think part of the idea was to go do at least a design phase to see, are we really truly into a cost issue? If we are into a cost issue, just to eliminate that.
Then we would eliminate that lower section.
But we do want to move forward and at least see, because we feel that the cost estimates that you've done, did you want to come up and
This
introduce
is
yourself?
David from Bolton and Mink.
David Millmeyer, work for Bolton and Mink out of our Cedar Rapids office. So I think part of what they're getting at is once the survey is completed, we can get a really good idea pretty early on in the design process of here's where it's all sitting. Right now, it's the only tools that we have are aerial images and going out there and measuring on site. And so once you start that design process, you can narrow down and get to a point where you can say, yes, this is in our budget, or no, it's not. And at that point, determine where your project stops and starts. If it's going to be too expensive, there's a lot of cost saving measures that we can roll into it to make it fit your budget. Or if it's extremely out of budget, that gives all of you the chance to say, no, we're not going to move forward with this. And I believe in that proposal, they had a line in there of giving you guys a cost benefit analysis to certain pieces of the project, specifically storm sewer, of if you spend this money, here's the benefits you could see for it. If you don't want to spend the money to get those benefits, we can design around that and give a project that fits your goals with your budget.
Ideally, we're able to do the whole thing. But, and I think that we're in a position to do it. It's just, you do have to know that it's tight on finances on it.
And the cost estimate that you guys were referencing earlier, that is on the best information that we have for statewide pricing. Coming from the engineering side, I never want to be the very, very lowest cost estimate for you. So I never want to tell you it's going to cost $1 million and it comes in at 5 million. So ours is conservative, especially with the great bid pricing that you guys have been seeing here on the last few projects.
Any more questions?
sporadic sidewalks on each side of wherever there are. Would the curbs go on the outside of those, or would they be moved in? If you're gonna do away with the sidewalks, would the curbs go on the outside of that, so the street would be that much wider?
I wouldn't think so. It would be, I think we proposed a 26-foot or road from back of curb to back of curb, which is essentially the curb lines would remain essentially where they are today, give or take.
There's no curb there.
There's no
There's a torrential downpour, just like a river going to rain park.
Right.
It really needs to be addressed with the storm sewers, which I'm sure they're addressing.
Yeah, that's built in.
It is.
Yeah. I think when we looked or drove it today, there's very limited intakes. And so that'd be one of the items that we would come back and do a cost benefit analysis of if you add intakes, you can reduce your gutter spread, which is how far the water eats up those drive lanes in a rainfall event. And that's something that we can calculate and
That's
be
why
able
you see
to.
a lot of chunks of cement going.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Thank you very much. So now we need to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Item number 10, consider resolution approving the purchase of 18 new disc golf baskets for the disc golf course in Rand Park. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion? The Park and Recreation Advisory Board voted at their regular meeting on November 4th, 2025 to purchase 18 new disc golf baskets to be placed in Rand Park. The current baskets are around 15 to 20 years old. This purchase will be funded through the Park and Recreation discretionary funds. It is therefore recommended that the council approve the purchase of the new disc golf baskets for Rand Park in the amount of $8,835 from the INNOBA Disc Golf. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 11, consider resolution approving a lease agreement with the United Way of Great River Region to lease space at the Southeast Iowa Development Center. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
The United Way of Great River Region has requested a lease with the city for the Southeast Iowa Development Center. The new lease will be for a term of 4 months, beginning January 5th, 2026, and ending at midnight on April 30th, 2026. The United Way will pay $525 per month for a total lease amount of $2,100. The lease area consists of Suite 214. Staff recommends that the new lease agreement with the United Way of Great River Region be approved. Any more discussion?
Is this for the VITA program, the tax filing that they do?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a very beneficial program to our community. And so I would just recommend anybody who would qualify for that to make the phone call early, because I know in previous years they have booked solid for that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 12, consider resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of an application for the State Revolving Fund Assistance, Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
The city has committed to reconstructing Timea Street from the 7th Street to the 22nd Street using general obligation bond funding. Once it was determined that the full depth reconstruction was going to be required, the base cost estimate for the project was raised to $5 million with contingencies and engineering fees. The project involved limited combined sewer overflows, CSO work. It was determined to look at options to perform CSO elimination work as part of this project. The additional work to collect stormwater and divert it from Timea Street to Palin to the existing storm sewer outlet was determined to be at the best interest of the community to take advantage of the street work being performed. Bolton Mink has determined that an overall project of approximately $8 million, including engineering contingencies, could accommodate this additional task while also reconstructing 2 blocks of 14th Street and 1 block of Palin Street at the same time. The combined project will reduce the street portion of costs to an estimated $3,300,000. A portion of the street work previously contemplated now allocated to the sewer costs, while the sewer portion is estimated at $4,712,696. The current resolution would allow the city to apply for State Revolving Fund, SRF loan to fund the work, financed over 20 years and covered by the sewer revenues. Additionally, the city anticipates applying for the CDBG block grant of $500,000 to reduce the SRF loan. The city is also hopeful to be selected for 30% of the BIL grant reimbursement funding on the overall SRF loan. We meet the base distress community requirements, but will know the fact rather than the BIL grant to be awarded to the city. Do- Huh?
After the fact.
After the fact, sorry about that. So, do we have any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 13, consider resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a demolition contract for a 4-family conversion located at 727 Exchange Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
727 Exchange Street is a 4-family conversion that has been owned by several different property owners over the last several years. The city has had the structure secured and mowed for at least the past 5 years. This roof has failed. This property, even while occupied, was not maintained. 3 bids were received. Lower bidder was WNS in the amount of $12,250. The high bid was $18,000. As required by the property owner, Integrity Investment REO Holdings LLC, Chicago, Illinois, will be billed for the demolition, and if it's not paid in 30 days, a lien will be placed on the properties. Approve the mayor to sign the demolition contract. Do we have any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 14, consider resolution setting a public hearing on plans, specifications, engineers cost estimate, and form of contract for asbestos removal at the Elkham site, Plat 1, and auditor's partial D. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Cleanup work at the former Elkham site, our Brownfields project, is progressing. Removal of approximately 25 barrels on the property have been removed over the past 2 months. The next step is in the cleanup process is to the removal of asbestos on the site. Work will occur on the property associated with both of the first 2 grants for Plat 1 as well as auditor's partial D site. We are looking to set a public hearing on the proposed work for the January 5th, 2026 council meeting, with work on the asbestos removal anticipated to be completed by April 2026. The resolution under consideration will approve the scope of work, the form of the contract to be entered, authorize the city to go out for bid on the project work, and set a public hearing to consider the project for January 5th, 2026 council meeting. The work to be performed is within the scope of the work envisioned to be completed by the EPA grants awarded to the city, and expenses will be covered by those respective grants for each of the property sites. Actual resolution is being prepared by the engineer. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Do I have any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 15. We have the review of the city administrator's 90-day evaluation. At the request of a city council member and in accordance with our city administrator's contract, the Keokuk City Council was asked to do an evaluation. City Clerk Celeste Ellen Fowey and Mayor Kathy Mahoney tallied the evaluation presented by the City Council, and we are excited to report that our City Administrator, Jim Furno, received a 96.4 positive score with no negative comments. Over the past 140 days, our new City Administrator has demonstrated strong leadership, clear communication, and a genuine commitment to serving our community. He has approached each challenge with professionalism and a solutions-focused mindset, and he has quickly built productive working relations with staff, council members, and community partners. His willingness to listen, engage, and follow through has already made a noticeable difference. We appreciate his dedication and look forward to the continued process under his leadership. The evaluations have been shared with our City Administrator, and he has not requested a closed session. Thanks to all the council members who participated. Forward and upward from here. Any discussion? Item number 16 is an update from Dane Walling with insight on the status of the hospital efforts.
Well, good evening, everyone. Were we able to share a few slides?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
I know, it's been a long meeting already, hasn't it?
Oh, it's good
A
for us.
productive meeting.
It's good for us.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And so I want to go over a few things about our network and the rural emergency hospital model and where we're at. But just as we get started, I think it's best to just tell you that with the tremendous support of Congressman Miller Meeks and the commitment of federal funding, that the project is back on track and the hospital reopening is moving forward. So that's what this story will bring us to tonight. So again, just tell you briefly about our physician leadership, the core values and community involvement that the Insight Network stands for, how we envision providing kind of patient care second to none, a bit more about the reopening timeline. Of course, I'm happy to answer questions throughout this about the different steps in the process. It's been more than a year since I've been in front of you and can tell you what we've been working on since then. And then again, kind of expressing our gratitude to the Congresswoman for really being diligent and moving forward with the community project request that she was able to secure. So our network is led by Dr. Jawad Shah, who's a neurosurgeon and CEO and founder of our network, and our chief medical officer is Dr. Rani Abarashid. So everything that we do is really about patient care. It's directed by physicians and doctors, and that's really at the heart of everything that Insight does. You've seen this before about our core values of loyalty and ethics and integrity and really love for the community. I want to highlight that, especially in this past year, we've had to rely on the value of adaptability. It's been a real changing and shifting landscape around policy of Medicare and Medicaid. In an underserved area like this, we know that a lot of our patients will be relying on Medicare and Medicaid. So we've had to take all of that into account as we've worked and reworked our plan to get the hospital reopened. You may remember that the network was started in Flint, Michigan, where it's headquartered back in 2008. We want every one of our facilities to not only be about medical care, but also to be about community revitalization. And that's part of what is so exciting for us to have this opportunity to work with you with all of the other amazing things that are happening in this community. We have had a development since we were last together in our larger network. On the next slide, we, under the Insight umbrella, now have a full service regional rural hospital in Southwest Michigan. So if you want to take a look at the Coldwater Insight Hospital and Medical Center, you'll see that while our network got started in Flint and Detroit and Chicago, we now also have a full service nonprofit community hospital in Coldwater, Michigan. So we're going to be bringing all of that experience to the project here in Keokuk. We've continued to receive a number of recognitions. I think since the last time we were together, the Insight Surgical Hospital, which is in Warren, Michigan, and Metro Detroit, received the Michigan Hospital Association's Award for Community Service. And our founder, Dr. Shah, actually was recognized with the association's Healthcare Leadership Award. Now, there's now more than 2,000 employees, including these different facilities in the Coldwater Hospital. They're working for Insight. So that's the hospital that you know and love, project coming soon. So you can share the next slide. To remind everyone, every time we talk about this project, that we are pursuing the first in Iowa rural emergency hospital license. This is a new license category that was created by the Federal Centers for Medicare a few years ago. U.S. Senator Grassley was instrumental in getting that adopted. It's a bit different than how the hospital was configured before, and we believe this will meet the community's needs, but also be financially sustainable. The center of the rural emergency hospital is a 24/7 emergency department that's staffed by physicians and nurses. It has a diagnostic lab and radiology, x-ray, imaging services. Pharmacy is right there for patients, and then there's post-care treatment and planning. The distinction is that there would not be what you would normally think of with a hospital, there being an inpatient bed where someone might be there for many days. In the rural emergency hospital, the expectation is someone may stay for as long as 24 hours, but if there was a more serious case that came to the department, that person would be treated and stabilized, and then they would be transferred. And we would have those agreements with surrounding hospitals. So it's a way to really focus on the emergency department. But what you'll also see in the colored floor plan there, and I know many of you know the hospital very well, this is the ground floor of the existing building. The emergency department doors would be the same as they are now. And there would also be outpatient surgeries, scheduled procedures that can take place under the rural emergency hospital license. So you have the emergency department and support services, and you have outpatient clinics that could be in high need areas like behavioral health and pain management, things that our network is expert in. And we would be able to use 35 to 40,000 square feet of the ground floor. And that's what our initial project plan is to accomplish. And the funding from that the Congressman woman secured for us would go towards this rural emergency hospital, emergency department, and outpatient surgery service area. The total price tag is going to be around $4 to $5 million. So we're going to continue to work towards funding for the project. But with the commitment of the federal funds, we're able to start final design and construction and move the process forward. So it'll continue to be a nonprofit hospital the way it always has been. There'll be charity care policies. We'll provide services to Medicare and Medicaid patients. And then we'll be working with the council, with other community partners on an ongoing basis to make sure that what we are offering, especially with the outpatient services, are going to meet the community's needs. So on the timeline, you remember these points were in place through the summer of 2024 when we were last together. At that time, we were working with the state to understand exactly what we would need to do to meet the licensing and life safety requirements of the building within those approximately 40,000 square feet. That took a number of months and a lot of time from our lawyers and architects, but we were able in February of 2025 to secure the partial waiver and the very specific guidance that we needed from the state to know exactly what that construction plan needs to look like. And it is feasible, and it is what matches that now $4 to $5 million estimate for the project. In July of this past year, we could just, a couple more points on the timeline. with the passage of U.S. House Resolution 1 or the big beautiful bill, there were significant changes to federal Medicaid policy. So not long after we had secured that understanding from the state about what we needed to do with the building, we then get the news that there's going to be a potentially very different way that Medicaid is funded over these coming years. So we have been working through those past months to try to understand what is a sustainable model for even the rural emergency hospital. And I was not sure what I could say a month or so ago when I made the commitment to come and give you this update, but we wanted to be transparent about the process. Again, we've had to adapt to these changing circumstances. And now with the tremendous commitment from the Congresswoman in getting through this community directed project at this really challenging political time, that trajectory of the project now changes. And we know with that commitment that we are able to move forward, that this can be financially sustainable, and we can identify those additional funds that we're going to need. So that announcement was really pivotal and a major step forward for this project. So what exactly now happens next? Because we have that security of being able to move forward with the project, we'll be working again with Carl A. Nelson to update the project agreement that they had prepared now about a year ago, and to make sure that those numbers are accurate in the same way that you are looking at some of your projects. We'll go through and do that. We'll continue to look for additional funding for the hospital and health projects. And then we'll continue to have community engagement. Now, on the middle point, I did want to highlight a role that I think will come back to you in the coming months for. Part of the big, beautiful bill was creating a new federal rural health transformation fund. And each state is able to apply for those funds. We're supposed to know by the end of the year how much each state has been allocated by the Federal Centers for Medicare. And we're very much hoping that this hospital project is going to fit in, one or more ways within what the state of Iowa is looking to do with those rural health transformation funds. So we'd like to, once that announcement is, made in the coming months, we're going to be going through that in detail, and we'd like to come back to you. We'd like to have further discussions about how we can, use the Keokuk Area Hospital to meet those objectives of improving rural health, in this part of the state, and to see how we can apply and be competitive for those additional funds. So that's one specific next step that you can please kind of also watch and be ready to share your ideas and thoughts with us. We want to make sure that this hospital is able to benefit and this community is able to benefit from those new rural health funds that we'll know more about in the new year. So thanks again for having me back for an update. I would be happy to take any questions or discussion.
As a veteran, past year I learned that there is a program, excuse me. My name is Bill Smith. I live one block from the hospital.
Okay.
Just a block up from our mayor. And there is a program called community care. And I was not aware of this until last year. Community care is because a lot of the veterans, including these two people, we have lost our primary care providers because they can't recruit enough. The dose bill went out, they asked them to retire, so we lost our primary care. In retrospect, I found out that if I don't have a primary care in the VA system, I can go to my primary care doctor in Keokuk. They have a contract with the VA called community care. Now, that being said, when they contract with community care, I can go in for any treatments that I so desire with my doctor. They then bill the VA then reimburses the provider. This is not only for medical, but for psychiatric, dental, and vision. I found out from our Veteran Service Office that
our VSO officer, which is gold, has accomplished more in 4 years of getting more than 100% disability for veterans in the county, which bring in over $4 million of revenue. That in turn, in this area, if this hospital comes into fruition, that will generate a lot more revenue from this community care program. Are you aware of this?
I wasn't. I've taken notes. So
Now, if you want further information, please contact our Veteran Service Office in Mount Rose.
Okay.
They're more detailed than that tonight, but I'm a veteran speaking from personal experience.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. And I do know, just in general, that one of the priorities often with rural healthcare access is this kind of coordination of care. So it's something that we can look at, and there may be ways that the hospital can fit into that.
Well, in the meantime, they're building a new clinic in West Burlington,
Yeah, okay.
but they're not going to be fully staffed.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, guys? Thank you very much, Dane.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Great to have you.
All right, thanks for all your support.
So we are back to item number 17, and that is the presentation of the National Impact Award, and I think Mike Norris is here to take over.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight with Michael Moorfeld of Green Oak Development, Moorfeld Electric and Moorfeld Solar. Is that it?
That's not it.
That's not it? Okay. And I'm here to present an award from the National Association of Development Organizations. The Regional Planning Commission is a member of this organization, and it's basically our national industry association, and it's made up of members from all 50 states, possibly Samoa, and regional planning commissions are in all those 50 states. And annually, they solicit applications and nominations for impact awards for unique, exemplary, and inspirational projects. And so this was the first one that came to my mind. The 600 block reconstruction of Main Street, which would be the buildings of 619, 623, and 625. And 629 is under construction. So going back to 2017, I think, Pam, the city acquired these buildings. Unfortunately, we lost the Oddfellows building, but initially we just started talking about ideas on what could possibly take place here. And so tonight I want to compliment the city's vision and perseverance to stay with this project and to not give up on it. And eventually the conditions were right with outside funds, city incentives, and Michael's company, Green Oak Development. And I think some of you may have been through these buildings, but it couldn't be a more dramatic transformation. And the first time I went in there with Pam, she advised me to bring a blunt instrument in case anybody was in there, and I needed to defend myself. Luckily, I did not, but there were plenty of pigeons, and we just thought, wow, this is going to be some kind of a transformation. And I've been with the Planning Commission for over 20 years. We funded quite a few downtown projects, and I think this is probably at the top as far as the difference in where it started to where it finished. And so, so there's 16 units now. When I drove in tonight, I saw lights in the windows. I think I saw a Christmas tree or two up there. And it's just amazing to see what it was, what it is now. And so the award is from the National Association of Development Organizations for the 600 block downtown upper story housing conversion. Project partners, Green Oak Development, Michael Moorfeld and his wife Jillian, the city of Keokuk, and the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission. So I'm here to highlight a fantastic project, compliment everybody involved, and I have brought these awards to share with the city. Mike, would you like to make any comments?
I'll be brief. Number one, thank you. This project started, I reached out to Mike after a trip to Des Moines. I was inspired trying to catapult a project in Fort Madison, and Mike's quick response was, well, why don't you respond to that RFP that we've sent you 3 times now, I think. So in Keokuk, and I said, that's a little out of my comfort zone. I'm used to, working in my own town. So glad I did. Pam, number one, that's a thankless job, guys. I saw more of it again tonight. Thank you, Pam, for what you did through the project and the team all along Kira, Main Street. Just felt welcome from the get-go. Just very, very neat project. It was a challenge, no doubt about it. Structurally, it was a significant challenge. Very, very pleased with the end result. I'll be honest with you, I'm with all the projects we've got going on right now, I'm probably the most excited about the one on 2nd Street right now. Every time I talk to Mike, I bring that one up. They don't get any cooler than the curb appeal that project has to offer. So very, very excited. These things do mean a lot. Not everything you do works on paper. Not everything has a cash flow. So sometimes a project works on thank yous. So getting some recognition does, there is merit to it. So I do truly appreciate everything here. So again, thank you guys.
And maybe after the meeting, we can get a picture, but the end result is that what was once a derelict 3 buildings, we have 16 residential units in downtown. That's a really big help to downtown. There's going to be followed up by 4 more
units.
right around the corner there. And so it's just great to see a success in downtown when in the past we've seen, quite a few buildings come down. So want to highlight a success tonight, and I thank everybody for your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you guys for all you did and all the work. And Pam, hop up there with yours.
Yep.
She did the work. Hop up there with them. Take your thing, your award. It's so nice to have so many positives tonight. We've had so much great things happen tonight in this council meeting. So we're going to move right along to item number 18, council liaison reports. Do we have any? Item number 19, staff reports.
Yes, I can tell you report that we have hired starts Monday, our department, and we are planning on getting 6 weeks of training done with him before he goes to the academy. Hopefully things come along and get him up to speed and help get him out of the academy.
Great job.
Just wanted to give a quick report on 249 Carbide Lane, the sewer animal control roof project. As of today, it has not been completed. Tomorrow is the deadline. I have received a phone call from Dansko regarding that he has ordered the materials. I did get a call also from the lumber yard that the materials should have came in today. They did not come in. If they don't come in tomorrow, they will not come in next week, but they would be in the following week. I guess we'll just, I don't know, I'll have something on the agenda if it's not taken care of for the following week to rebid the project. Unless the council wishes me to do something else, which is not on the agenda this evening.
You still haven't, we haven't gone through his timeline yet, so.
Yep, that's tomorrow, yep.
When we get through the timeline and you get to a spot where we have a council meeting after that, we'll see where we are at that point and then see if there is other action to be taken, or hopefully we actually have a project that's finished by then or almost finished.
Almost finished, correct. I do want to comment on Mike Merritt's. He did actually ask the council for an easement through the city property. In 2010, There was a request on the agenda, or there's a resolution actually for a property switch through the Elks in the city. It got approved, but it did not get recorded. And there was also at that time, and I'm not really sure, there was no approval for it, but there is a easement across this property that I'm referring to. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on next week's agenda if we get the stuff straightened out with the Elks, because right now, part of the easement is going through the Elks property. So if that gets taken care of, I'll bring it to the council and then you can decide. Also on the Planning Commission agenda last week, or earlier this week, I guess it was, Raritan's Towing and Transport requested rezoning for 4045 Main. There will be a public hearing set for December 18th on that. And we will get you the minutes from that meeting probably tomorrow.
Thank you.
Brian, or maybe somebody that works in your department, an update on how Christmas is coming?
It's still December 25th.
Thank you.
The city of Christmas is coming along well. If you drive by tonight, they do have majority of it they've got set up is lit up. They're on schedule for the walking tour, which would be the night before Thanksgiving. Just since we're talking about it, to put that out there, keep your eyes out. We've already started with the vandalism this year again, so please don't do that if you can voice that. I mean, there's a lot of time and energy and money in putting this together. It's offered free to the community, and we just would like to see it continue without any of the extracurriculars.
I would just like to acknowledge that you do have a significant number of people on your staff who put, what, a month, well
Yeah.
over a month into
Yeah.
making the Christmas lights work. That takes a lot of time and dedication, and involves not just during the day.
Well, the main one's sitting right over there. If you really want to thank somebody, it's
Which
Bob
is
Weiss.
what we'd love to have him come up and talk.
He probably knows exactly how many light bulbs are out there.
But he puts time in, not just during the week, but over the course of the weekend too, so.
Yep.
Don't forget to, when you go through, put some money in that donation box.
Yep, there is a free will donation. They also have a QR code you can scan with a Venmo account, so we appreciate every penny.
Okay, item number 20 is new business. Anybody? With that being said, item number 21 is, I need a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let's go home.
Yeah. Better off.
One of these days, I might say.
You're like, I'm a short